Welcome to Inside Marketing with MarketSurge, your front row seat to the boldest ideas and smartest strategies in the marketing game. Your host is Reed Hansen, Chief Growth Officer at MarketSurge.
Inside Marketing with MarketSurge. I'm your host, Reed Hansen. Today's episode is a little different because this one isn't just about marketing, it's about transformation. Our guest, Ben Buckley, went from getting fired after a DUI and struggling to pay bills to building an 8-figure company, working with brands like Apple, Samsung, Salesforce, and the Madison Square Garden. Ben is the founder of Digital Dreams, a company specializing in massive LED wall installations, custom AV systems, and enterprise-grade security solutions. Basically the kind of projects where one deal can change your entire year. He's also building a growing YouTube presence showing how these projects actually get done, pulling back the curtain on an industry most people never see. It's always behind the scenes. Today, we're digging into how to land whale clients without a massive team, what it really takes to scale complex, high-ticket operations. So if you've ever wondered how to go from scraping by to playing in the big leagues, this episode is for you. Ben, welcome to the show. Ben, let's talk a little bit about you. You went from getting fired after a DUI to today running an 8-figure company. So what, most people after the DUI, they kind of like do something else, or it can be a devastating experience. How did you make that into something you rebounded from to become excellent in your field?
It was like horrible at the time, obviously. And at the time I was working at Dish Network and I was like a tech for 2 years. And I became a manager for 2 years. And that's where I learned how to like route guys and work with my hands and put things together and see how to do stuff like that. And I was on this like trajectory to be like, I'm going to be general manager one day. I can't wait to run this place. Right. And then bam, DUI, and just let go the next day. Like I got let go so quick. I didn't even go to court yet. I didn't even get charged with it yet. I just reported it. And I was like, I still have my license for 30 days. They're like, nope, you're out of here and let me go. And that day like forever changed everything. So when it changed, or when I left, I ended up working for some subcontractors that did satellite and stuff. And then I got into home theater and AV. And that ended up like doubling my pay from the DUI and just do piecework jobs, right, on my own. And so then I was doing a day job and so many side jobs that after a couple of years, I tell everybody, I'm like the slowest in business. I'm like so far behind. Like it wasn't like this quick growth or like how everybody's, tech startups double, triple, 10 times. Mine's just like the slow trickle all the way up. It seemed like it took forever. It's still not to where I want to be, but I had my day job and then I started doing side jobs. And I had so many side jobs that I just couldn't keep the day job. Right. So it wasn't just bam, I started. It was just like, okay.
Your AirPods just flipped off, Ben. So let's see. Let me see if I can switch to your camera audio. So those might sync. Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me
Looks
now?
like they synced. Yeah. Can you?
Dude, I don't know what's going on. Maybe because I'm also
I can hear you
myself
now.
There's some other Bluetooth thing that's messing up.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I know.
They go a little rogue sometimes, but
too much freaking editing because of this crap. I'm sorry. But I was at my shop and today I'm driving 5 hours to pick up my daughter from San Luis Obispo. And that's why thank you for moving early for me. And I'm like usually I'm at my office and I have everything like a mic set up there and all this other stuff. And we're doing it at my house right now. And so I'm taking myself on this thing. So I'll keep watching.
It's fine. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Editing solves everything though.
So what I was saying was I had a day job and I had these side jobs and I would meet the customers. I would be like at a customer's house and I'm putting up the satellite dish. And they're like, oh, I need this cable ran. I need a TV hung. And I'd be like, oh, I could do it later on the side. I'll come back on the weekend. And that's how I met a bunch of customers, right? And so I would meet customers on the job and then come back and do stuff for them later. You know what I mean? Until I had so many side jobs, I got in trouble with the day job and I couldn't keep it anymore. And so then I had to just rip off the Band-Aid and just go 100% on my own. And so that's how I started the company like that.
Okay.
And I have 5 kids. And my kids are all adults now. So my youngest is 18, my oldest is 28. And so I had to like constantly work just to be able to get diapers enough to feed all those kids. So that was a drive too, right? Everybody has to have their own drive or need or want. And I loved what I was doing anyways, right? So it didn't really bother me. So that's how it started, right? So the DUI knocked me into the other subcontracting job. Then I started doing side jobs and then I got rid of the day job. And then I was doing residential for a long time. And then one year I switched and I dumped all my residential and went 100% commercial. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So at that point, so it sounds like word of mouth was how you're getting clients with residential. How did that
So
change when you were switching to commercial?
So,
And why did you
so
switch
there's
to
a bunch of little
commercial?
steps in between. So I would meet customers from the day job. Then they would
Yeah.
introduce me to someone else, and that's like the word of mouth, right? And I started doing fulfillment work. So I used to do so like Sears. I had contracts like Sears, Best Buy, Target, Walmart. Anybody who sold TVs, they needed third party guys to put their TVs in. And so ended up signing up with all those guys, and then I would meet them, and then they would need something else that Sears wouldn't sell or something. So like they're like, oh, I need cameras. I need surveillance cameras. And be like, oh
Okay.
yeah, I do that too. And then you could. So that's how I met so many people in the beginning. And then they're like, oh, can you do this? Can you
Okay.
do this for me? Can you do that?
Okay.
And so then they had a friend. And so that's how that. So I used those because those jobs paid like nothing. Like when we were doing TVs for Sears, they'd pay me $50 to go to Sears, pick up the TV. It's like when flat screens are like first out, right? Pick up this TV, drive to their house, just
Huh?
put the TV on a stand, then take their giant 300-pound like Sony Trinitron tube TV, take that out and go e-waste it. And they only pay me
Yeah.
$8.50 to take this 300-pound TV out. Right. And so I'd have to get like a buddy, put it on a cart, throw it in
Oh
the
my
back of my
gosh.
truck, go dump it. So I get paid $58. So if I didn't upsell them something on the side, I'm already negative on the job. So I use it just because they would give me
Wow.
thousands of jobs.
Ah, okay. And
Exactly.
then those turned
Yeah. Then
into
they turn
basically
the leads and
leads
like,
that,
oh,
okay.
maybe they need an
Okay.
HDMI cable. Oh, maybe they want to hang the TV, but they didn't know they could. And then I could sell them out. Then I could hang the TV.
Interesting. Interesting. Now, why is Sears out of business? I have no idea. They just basically, they could
Yeah,
have
and they
captured
sold
this
TV hangs and
business.
stuff too. But you know what I'm saying? Sometimes the customer needs something else or whatever. Technically, I wasn't supposed to be doing it on the side. I was supposed to call the store and do this or that. And we would on some of them because we don't want to burn the relationship because they need the leads,
Uh-huh.
right? And so not every time I do something that I wasn't supposed to do, I
Yeah.
really would just follow the rules and do it. But if they need an HDMI cable, the Sears would be like, sell it. We don't even sell one that long. And so there's all these other things. And then Sears doesn't sell surveillance cameras, and maybe
Okay.
we're doing that too. Or maybe they need cable ran for their internet to another room that Sears doesn't do. So then I get to see their problems. I already see the problem. I see the modem in the living room. They don't want it there. Like, oh, you want to move that back? And so I do all this stuff
Okay.
that wasn't offered, right?
Okay. So you basically took like jobs that were like a loss leader that led to a lot, but you could do
Yeah,
this in
exactly.
quantity. Like they had a
Yep.
lot of jobs for
Yep. And then
you.
they gave me
And
like 10, I forget, like, I don't
interesting.
know how many stores. So anytime anything was sold out of like 20 different Sears stores, it came to my company.
Wow. And when you're thinking about scaling, because part of it is they're giving you 10 stores because you have
Yeah.
a team to do this, when you make a decision like, let me hire more to take on more work, or let me just stay the size I
So
am, what
every
goes
time
into
they gave
that
me a
thinking?
store, I just never told them no. Sure, I'll do it, and I just figured it out later. So I would route the
Okay.
jobs, and what sucked about that is
Okay.
they just scheduled whenever the customer wanted it, and there was no feedback from me of if I can make it or not. If I'm taking it, I just have to match the days and times they gave it. There was no syncing of calendars, and so I would just keep getting more buddies, and
Ah,
you know why? Like sometimes you're like waiting on that 8 to 12 appointment, and then someone doesn't get there till 4. It's like a contractor that's like taking on too much work, and yeah, he's pushing out his
much work.
customers or trying to get them
Yeah.
done quick or
Okay.
something, or something happens on a job that takes 3 more hours, and then you're stuck anyways, right? So
Interesting.
but yeah, I had a bunch of friends with their own trucks. So in the beginning, it was just me and my truck, and then my buddy. I get him, and everybody was just paid piecework. Like I could just afford to be like, hey, if you go take this TV and you go drop it off, I'll give you $45. And I was making like $5. I was like, just go fulfill them. And anything else
Okay.
that needs to be sold, give it to me and I'll sell them. We'll go back and do the job. So that's how it was. They're getting almost all the money for the job, but just so I could cover all the jobs. And then they would give me the leads. If it's, oh, they need all of this, we're going to another
Okay.
day. And then we would go back and make more money that way. So it was their own trucks, their own gas, but just like my buddies. And so over the years, I just keep adding them and trucks and dates
Yeah.
and customers. And eventually around 2017, somewhere around there. I had to buy everybody vans. I couldn't worry about their trucks breaking down. I had to start paying for gas, and I had to turn everybody into real employees. And by then, I've left that business model, and I'm not doing the
Uh,
cheapy jobs anymore. Yeah. So there was a transition at some point to
okay.
make everybody
Okay.
real.
Interesting. Okay. We just lost
I'm
your
back.
AirPods. But well, so while you're working, oh, you're back. Okay. Well, so but you're also working with
Yeah.
eventually at some point with Apple, Salesforce. How do you land those kinds of clients? Those are very wealthy tech companies, huge footprints. I'm sure endless needs for this live and
Yeah.
permanent installations. Like what?
So later on,
How,
and I started getting into commercial jobs. I'm doing something similar too, where like another integrator sells, like $1 billion integrator sells some projects, and then they need more third party labor, but more custom labor. And so I started getting into those projects, and then people on those companies will leave. And then maybe they go to another company and they're like, "Hey Ben, I know you used to do this from a previous company. You come over here to this one and help me." And then eventually I start selling the
okay.
product, and then I'm turning into my own integrator, right? And I'm meeting these customers through the manufacturer or the many, let's say Apple contacts a product there, and they're like, "Hey, so and so LED, we want to buy this." And then that I can't sell direct to you, but I have this guy, and then he could sell it to you and put it in. And so that's where the matchmaking
Okay.
comes. Yeah.
So you source
Yeah.
the products you install as well. And so you probably have vendor
Yeah.
contracts with a lot of different manufacturers. Okay. This starts to get really complex. Like, how do you grow? I mean, I'm sure you started out like I mean, your journey is like you're working with your hands and
Mhm.
you're good at the installation, but at some point you're probably not, tell me if I'm wrong, like today you're probably not out in the field installing anything. You're figuring out like vendor contracts and hiring. And at
So
what point do you
I
stop
still
working in
will
the
go
field?
in the field on, and you'll see me on my YouTube channel on all the bigger projects, right? I'm not doing the full everything, but I am touching
Okay.
some of this stuff. So in my brain, like that transition,
Uh-huh.
my hands are so freaking soft now from not freaking working in the field. It drives me nuts. Where before they were so rough, and now they're just like perfect for typing on my keyboard. But so it's not as rough as they used to be. But I did transition out of the field fully a long time ago, like probably 2017, 2018, where I'm not like in the field as much anymore. But I will go like still go check on the
Okay.
jobs or still on the big projects, or if I'm like if there's I just need to be on some of those to maintain like the quality and stuff like that, right? Depending on who I have working on the
Yeah.
job. So
Yeah.
yeah, I did transition out of the field fully at some point just to maintain like billing and all that other stuff. But once I got to a certain level and I could afford employees, right? Then I can afford someone to run the office and handle all that other stuff. Then they were doing stuff that I was stuck doing, and I could still go do the business development, still go work on the training, still keep my eye on what's new out there, and split my time to like still go out in the field on bigger stuff. So yeah, I'm not in the field as much. I will go to the bigger projects. Around 2017, 2018 is when I like transitioned fully like out of the field.
Okay. And, and I'm sure your life is very different. How do you feel about making that switch? I mean, I feel like maybe there's a little
Yeah.
bit of you miss some of the field work, but like you've probably had to skill up. Like you're negotiating contracts, you're dealing with big organizations, you're trying to staff and organize like a bigger
Yeah,
team.
so it's
How do you
super
skill up on
gradual, and I
that?
still like I'm super behind on that stuff. And you're right, it's a great
Okay.
question because as a tech and
Okay.
be able to
Yeah.
put things together with my hands, I only feel like I did something good that day when I put something together and I show the end work. If I'm like, yeah, I landed this job and I closed this deal, I don't have the same gratification
Interesting.
as I built
Yeah.
that thing. I don't know if you've ever seen, now that we're talking about it, it'll probably pop up on your phone, but there's
Interesting.
like a lot of contractor like videos where it's like he's driving around with this kid. He's like, I built that over there. I built that wall. You see that? Have you ever seen it? Like I do that to my kids all the time. They're like,
Sure.
shut up,
Yeah.
dad.
Uh-huh.
But that's how I feel too. I still have that in me. I still like to go to the big projects and go check on that. So the question of like, how did I transition from that? So it's like hiring a bunch of key players. One is Kirsten, who like runs my life and my company. I found her in 2018. And from there, that allowed me to just like scale exponentially, handing her almost everything that I was stuck
Okay.
doing and her naturally being able to do it. So that
Mm.
changed my trajectory, that right person there. And I've gone through a bunch of people in the office here and there to do it. And it's still hard. I think that hiring is still one of these things. Hiring and firing for me is one of the hardest things for me to do and find the right people. With that,
Okay.
building systems, which we're still working on, is really hard too. To even be able to onboard somebody, to get them off, if you have to let them go, what keys do they have access to? What don't do they have access to and stuff? All those worries you get stuck with. And me and Kirsten joke all the time. We joke all the time. We're like, that's why that $1 billion company
Mhm.
has that dumbass rule. Sorry. But 'cause they're like, we're like, wait, We're like, wait, oh, now I know why you have to do that, because somebody in your company might be doing something stupid. So you have to write this down to be like, this is obvious, but don't. And so we start to find all those stupid rules why. And now we start to
Yeah.
see like why companies get so corporate. And then first we are like super free. And then it's
Yeah.
like, oh, we have real consequences. And this guy just did something really dumb. So we have to change this rule right here. Start to catch on.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, that's good
Yeah,
to hear
exactly.
other people struggle with
I
that
think
too.
everybody has it no matter what scale. But we switched to a full ERP a couple of years ago. We switched
Yeah.
to NetSuite. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we
Oh, okay.
were
Wow. So
we were
like
running
legit
everything in Google
ERP.
Calendar for
Okay.
like decades. My first
Yeah.
like invoicing,
Okay.
how I used to invoice everybody, and I had Excel folder, like an Excel file that said Digital Dreams, the customer, the date, the job number, how much I charged, and then I would email them that Excel file. And when I got paid, I would sit at my computer, and if they paid me, I just drug that Excel file into a paid folder. That's how I started. Yeah, that's how I started
Foolproof. Totally
my
foolproof.
accounting with myself.
Yeah. Heaven forbid there was
Exactly. I'd be in
ever
trouble.
a hardware failure.
Yeah.
Well, NetSuite, that's legit. That's a legit business, and I imagine that, there's some growing pains along the way, but it sounds like you're really thriving. I'm very impressed.
Yeah.
Tell me about your YouTube channel now as a marketing tool. So you're showing some behind the scenes content, you're putting your face out there. Do you find this valuable in getting new clients and growth, or what do you think is
Yeah.
the value of
So
doing this kind of
2020,
marketing?
when everything started going down, I did two things. One, did this fever detector company, which is like a side thing we could talk about. And then I was like, dude, I better start this YouTube channel. We have nothing we can really go do. So let's just start this channel. I'll be left behind if I don't
Yeah.
start getting on digital and like making videos and stuff. And dude, it was the worst, roughest beginning of me trying to get on camera. I couldn't talk in front of this camera dude that I hired. He's still with me. I couldn't, I was like, just like on Talladega Nights, and he's like, I don't know what to do with my hands. Oh my God, but like 10 times worse, dude. Like I would literally go on Saturday and be like, I'm just gonna go record by myself. Even by myself in front of the camera, I couldn't freaking do it. I couldn't even talk to myself. It was the most awkward thing. And so I finally had to just get over it and just be like, whatever, I don't care. I don't care if people think I'm stupid or retarded or whatever the heck or whatever. I don't care what they think about me anymore. I just have to
Yeah.
do it. And I was getting the
Right.
weirdest mixed. I would share my videos in the beginning to people I knew, some good friends, some not good friends, some acquaintances and stuff like. And I would get the weirdest mixed reviews. Like one guy that I thought was gonna really like it, he was like, "That's so fake. You're so fake. Your laugh is fake." And he's like, "Why don't you be?" And I was like, "That was the most genuine video I had," and he thought it was super fake. And so I was like, "Okay, so this guy." At that point, that reaction, that guy texts me, I was like, okay, everybody's gonna just perceive it weird, and I just have to be myself and then just deal with it later. So I've had that one reaction, and that helped me change. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't even care what he thinks. Why did I ask him? And then I had another one where I keep cussing here, and I was like my earlier videos, and we bleep them out now, or I edit them out now. But I had a guy that said he wouldn't work with us because he watched my YouTube channel, and then he said I cuss too much. And he said the CEO cusses too much, and he wouldn't want to work with someone like that, right? And so you get the weirdest
Oh
effects.
my
But then I
gosh.
was like, okay, what if he didn't see that? And then he hired me, and then I cussed there, and then cut us the contract off. So then I was like, people just have to see who I am, and then just they like
Yeah.
me or they don't like me. And so those two things helped me
Yeah.
change how I act on YouTube, and then just get more comfortable with
Yeah.
it and just forget about it. But I'm 47. Like my kids can talk in front of the cameras a lot easier. I'm talking to you right now pretty easy, but before it was like the worst,
Yeah.
most uncomfortablest thing to be just me in a lens. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I've gone through that myself. I've got a marketing agency and I've had to work up to it too, and I've just find myself like, okay, let me just picture, okay, I'm sitting at the desk of ESPN Sports Center and what would I do there? And I'd kind of like, definitely like, I kind of put on a
Uh huh.
voice or kind of like a persona, like, I'm not like, I don't like
Uh
talking
huh.
a booming voice when
Right.
I'm
Right.
like
Right.
talking to my kids, but it's,
You gotta just get it over.
yeah, you got to do
You
what you
gotta
got
just
to do.
get
I
it
think
out there.
video content
And
is,
I would take
yeah,
that
that's right.
question, but I started it
Yeah.
because I wanted to have a digital presence, not get left behind. COVID hit, and dude, I have a marketing story for you with that question. Okay, so I never did. I
Okay.
tried
Yeah,
online
let's hear
marketing
it.
there, tried to pay, and the reason why it failed for me as a
Okay.
small company was if I when I started to try to do paid ads and stuff and try to do A/B testing, hiring a company or doing it myself,
Mhm.
if I got leads, one at the time I first tried it, I had no system to save anybody I had no CRM. So I couldn't even save it. So they're just like in an inbox. trying to remember who to get back to, seeing who's a real customer or not. So that's failed for me a couple times by not
Uh-huh.
having anything ready. And then when the flood came in, I couldn't field all the calls because I didn't have enough people to do sales. I have two salespeople now, but then I didn't. And so marketing
Okay.
stuff early on, I didn't have anywhere to store the customers. I couldn't take all the calls myself. And so I just would fall back into how I normally get my customers, like meeting people, word of mouth, stop and ask. And so I just fell back into that trap, which is still good now, but we have other ways to do our sales now. But during the pandemic, I
Uh-huh.
buy a lot of LED wells. I talk to a lot of LED people. And so people from China message me all the time. So this lady from China messaged me on WhatsApp and she said, "Hey, Ben, I have this thing. It checks your temperature. We use it in China. You're going to need it there basically in the States." So I bought this one off Alibaba from her. I got this little camera that checked your temperature. I don't know if you remember, like during COVID when you had to walk by and people used the gun to check your temperature or had cameras and stuff. So she told me that in March. And then so I
Yeah.
bought it, and then I found some other ones I could buy in town that I
Okay.
didn't need to get shipped from China. And I bought feverdetecting.com for $1. I went down to my buddy who's great on camera, who owns a marketing company. He made this like super serious video. And he said, "We don't know what's going on, and we need to do this. And to keep your business open, call us and we'll get you this camera and you can just automatically check people." So we're early to it. So I buy this site, I make this video, I'm running Google
Yeah.
ads for the first time, and it's 20 cents a click for anything like fever detecting, right? And within 3 months, it's $50 a click for anything fever detecting, right? And so I'm like one of the first ones to the game, and I'm just getting
Wow.
all these customers. Like I talked to the owner of Nobu Hotels. Like there's Robert De Niro, Chef Nobu, and a third guy. And the third guy called me. I kept Nobu Malibu and Nobu Palo Alto open with these fever detectors. I got those custom wrapped. I had Nobu on this little bar. It was sick. I talked to them. I talked to Morningstar's, like a huge tomato factory. They have to scan like 1,000 employees, like when it's their big season, and they were killing it. They were making so much money because everything tomatoes
Yeah.
canned, whatever. And so they're one of the companies that like ballooned during the pandemic. So they called me. I was keeping all their plants open, right? And
Wow.
we did 250,000 in sales in 3 months, which was like good for me at the
Okay.
time during like the
Wow.
pandemic and nothing's going on. And they're all new leads to me. But then so many other people had the same idea that it was like $50 a click. So I had to just turn it off
Okay.
because I couldn't afford to even pay for the clicks
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
because I was paying like one time it
Interesting.
was like 10
Okay.
grand in like this 1 week of clicks and not one converted. I had to
Wow.
just stop it from there. And I just got back into my regular stuff. But it was a crazy ride during the
Okay.
pandemic. I mean, we were having so much fun getting these
Yeah.
fever detectors, going to the customers,
Yeah.
setting them up, letting them stay open. It was just automating a bunch of stuff for people.
Huh.
But that was like my first time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Way to be opportunistic. That's awesome. Well, okay, so Ben, you've had a lot of success, and let me just ask you one last question. So, what's a piece of advice for somebody who has a solid business but
Mhm.
doesn't know, but is maybe plateaued and doesn't know how to take it to the next step? Advice
So
would you
I
give to an
plateaued a
entrepreneur
bunch
in
of
that
times,
situation?
right? And I'm like, I'm just stuck at the same thing for a couple of years or whatever,
Okay.
right? I don't really reinvent ourselves. We don't
Yeah.
really reinvent ourselves. But then I just look back at what we do best. And then so I always say this, Kirsten Hayes, I used to say this saying where I don't want the cheesecake menu where it's like 1,000 items. I want the in and out menu, right? I want to just have three. I don't want to go through pages and try to figure out what to eat.
Yeah.
So we do these three things the best, and then let's double down on that, and then dive deeper into that niche, and then you'll find what you're looking for, and then stop going wide. So don't, and I've pivoted before, and I've tried to do a couple other things here and there, but then when I stray that far, then I start losing what I would do best and missing out on all the stuff that I'm normally good at. So I just double down on those niches, double down on LED walls, double down on cameras, whatever I'm doing, and then dive deeper into that one subject, and then just keep talking about that subject and keep doing that subject, and that's what I usually do.
That's very practical advice. I love it. So, Ben, if you'd like people to find you, like your YouTube
Yeah.
channel, maybe work with you for
Yeah, so my
your
YouTube
core
channel
business,
is
where can
at
they find
Digital
you?
Dreams Installs, and so is the TikTok is at Digital Dreams Installs. We just post on those two, and then the website is digitaldreams.com.
Okay.
And so, yeah, we post all of our jobs on the TikTok and YouTube on there, and that's where most of our work is at that you can see. Yeah.
Awesome. Ben, it's been a pleasure to have you on. Best of luck with continued growth. I'm sure that there's going to be a
Right
lot
on.
more growth in your future and a lot more learning, and really excited to follow the journey. I'll be following your socials
Yeah, thanks for
and
having me on, dude.
excited to
Appreciate it.
stay in touch.
Want to stay ahead of what's actually working in marketing right now? Head over to MarketSurge.io and see how we're helping businesses grow smarter, faster, and louder. That's MarketSurge.io, because your next breakthrough shouldn't be a guess.